you, Trevor, should I?
Thank you. Okay, so we'll discuss whether or not we should outsource our restaurants. So should I? One question before we get started: are you open to having your mind change after discussion? Maybe you want to change. Maybe you want to before we get started. Maybe you want to outsource all your restaurants, but by the end of the discussion, maybe you want to change your mind. Are you open to that change?
I think, Elena, you would be a
Absolutely.
candidate for this answer.
Absolutely. I think we always keep on learning as we go, correct?
All right. Okay, then let's start it then. So who are here that agree on outsourcing the restaurants? Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really based on my last couple of experiences, the last 4 or 5 years with 2 lifestyle groups who had a different approach. The first was Dream, and they decided a long time ago to outsource their restaurant business. They did it in several different ways. In the extreme end, in intense urban centers like Hollywood and New York, they outsourced everything to Tao Group on a package deal, and that worked extremely well. Drove a lot of traffic, made a lot of money. The formula was a profit participation, which is generally the formula you'll find. Tao charges a pretty high licensing fee up front, but they do split the profits with you, so it works out to be quite a good deal going both ways. We then also did that in restaurants where 1 or 2 outlets, maybe 1 outlet was brought in with a celebrity chef coming in, and in overseas where the markets are newer and this sort of concept is probably more novel, we might do our own. And in that case, we'd bring in people from outside the hotel industry to open the restaurants, whether it was the executive chef or the F&B manager. It was never somebody from within the hotel industry, and I think it was said earlier this morning that doesn't always work out so well. Nikki Beach was a different animal. They started out as a restaurant group. Everybody that was in those restaurants was non-hotelier. The group has very few hoteliers within it. They do the same in terms of repeating overseas, whether it's an independent restaurant or whether it's a restaurant that's part of a hotel with the beach club. In a few instances, they also had the beach club within somebody else's branded hotel, 5 or 6 instances around the world. So they were in fact outsourced, although the restaurant was their own operation, but outsourced in the context of the hotel, and that happened in Bali, Phuket, in Marbella in Spain. Again, people who could come in, bring the traffic into the property, used to fighting it out on the streets, basically.
Okay, I'll come back to more details with you after. So Micah, you outsource or you want to have a control?
So for us at Minor, we've been operating hotels for over 40 years, and right now we have 160 hotels. And historically, what we've been doing is we've been operating all our restaurants in-house. But 7 years ago, when we built the St. Regis Hotel next door, we kind of experimented. So we did a joint venture with Zuma, which is a well-known Asian fusion restaurant in London. And what we actually realized is that the revenue or the sales generated from just one outlet is as much as all the outlets at St. Regis combined.
Which model do you use for Zuma? Is it a rev share or GDP share?
Yeah, what we do at Zuma is it's kind of a mix. So we do a joint venture. We own 35% of it, but at the same time, the restaurant also pays us rent. So we get rent and we also get profit sharing too.
From what I understand, that's what miners like to do, right?
Yeah.
You need to buy something to
exactly,
let someone sell something.
Exactly. So we don't we won't just outright rent space. Yeah. We want to control the quality, control the image, and everything like that. And also, so because of this, it's kind of our new strategy going forward in terms of acquiring good restaurant brands that we can actually add to our hotel portfolio.
Okay. So Elena, you have plenty of restaurants under your wings. Are you outsourcing or are you doing it in-house?
Absolutely. I mean, looking that I overlook Southeast Asia and Korea, but then also you have the larger IHG, which will be EAMEA and then global China, Americas. So absolutely, our strategy is to look at, because we have so many diverse markets, diverse locations, and also diverse brands, owners, and properties. So it's going in, looking at what is right for the market, what is right for the owners and property in mind. So therefore, you will find an IHG, you will find third-party lease agreement, and you would also find consulting as well as franchised or as well as consulting.
So you have a little bit of both.
Enough.
Okay.
Yes, everything actually.
So then when you outsource your restaurants, what is the biggest concern you have as a big brand?
I don't think we approach it as concern. Instead, we find partners that are reliable and we work with, and that also understands the hotel brand. So, example, if it's an InterContinental, we will find it's a certain brand or a chef consultant in order to bring life to the hotel brand. So it's a fit inside and also a fit in the market. So I think more than having concerns, we find partnerships that we also work across regions with.
Okay. Kevin, so from your previous experience, when you outsource these restaurants, what is your biggest concern?
Well, I think that was really, it was in two places that we did that to a fair degree. The first was Dream, and the biggest concern there was that it didn't interfere with the environment we were trying to create, which was a lifestyle boutique hotel group. So, we'd go for people like Tao, who were already there. We'd go with chefs like Jeffrey Zakarian in one of our hotels. And they had to sort of, we had to know what they were going to do and how they were going to do it so that we had some sort of influence and control over what was happening. Another interesting example prior to that was at Centara, where I think as people know, we had over half of our business at that point in time was F&B related. And somewhat like Minor Group has grown its own restaurants. Some of those brands we put in the hotel. Some of them the people who have been to Samui or Pattaya. We had Zico, the Brazilian churrascaria restaurant there. So, that's sort of a thing that we would develop. And I think probably at the end, today they must have 500 or 600 restaurants, and some of those are related to the hotels and some aren't.
Okay. So Micah, from what I understand, Minor like to have control over everything that they bring to their home. So what is your concern when outsourcing?
I think because we have lots of control, we don't have any concerns in terms of the look or the image or that sense. But I think our biggest concern is when we do what we call outsource, but maybe not in a traditional sense. We actually look for brands that are very strong, brands that have been established in the market. So earlier this month, we actually acquired 75% in Benihana's, which is a teppanyaki concept. We actually been operating as a franchisee for 20 years at our Riverside property, and we find that very interactive. Kids love it, and because we're in 26 countries, and we feel that it's a concept where we can actually add value and bring it to some of our locations. And also, end of last year, we acquired a company called Corbin & Kings, which has 8 outstanding outlets in London, which very, very high-end, which we think we can actually add to our 5-star hotels, and it's scalable. So I think we look for quality, established brands.
Okay, and Sam, if you have a restaurant, would you outsource this or would you do it yourself from your PR and marketing standpoint?
I think that would depend on the power of the PR and marketing team. I find the challenge with the in-house hotel marketing is that the PR marketing is shared between the hotel and the restaurant. Therefore, there's a lot of, actually there's most complaints I hear from the managers or the chefs is that the restaurants are not getting enough attention. Okay. So in a sense, it's I would find that this would be the challenge. Whereas an outsourced restaurant, generally they would deal with the professional agency, or they would have a full-time PR and marketing person. So, I mean, it's a difficult question. It really depends on what sort of structure of your PR and marketing team that you would have. I mean, how dynamic, and of course your budget has a lot to do with it. Yeah, so either.
Yeah. So Elena, in terms of, as Sam just mentioned, that one of the challenges that we've seen in the restaurant scenes is marketing. How do you deal with that in your company?
As well as because we have so many different sizes of hotels with different amount of food and beverage inside, and also different brands. So, looking at example, what we're bringing in now to Southeast Asia, the Kimpton brand, very much there will be dedicated restaurants and bars marketing, either team or person or outsourced, as well as in our luxury lifestyle InterContinental. We have many hotels where we have actually dedicated restaurants and bars marketing person that solely focus on that. We started also, recently there are some restaurants or bars that we very much, the idea is to have it work independently. Example, Beer Republic, very close to here. The social media marketing is really under responsibility of the manager, a gentleman from UK, and he's fantastic. So he actually drives it all himself. He does the photography, the videos, the posting, and
You're lucky in that case,
yeah,
because it's not always in this.
yeah. But it's
Same with the
finding the
chefs.
right people, correct?
Exactly,
And that's
the
what we're
team.
doing. For me,
Yeah.
in restaurants and bars, it's all about right people, right role, and also going into the more of the independent thinking that does really social media have to sit in the marketing? Could there be independent venues that they take care of it themselves?
Right. I think I think a little bit of the issue that I keep coming into as an agency and also as a blogger, a food writer, is actually the time that, I mean, when you're spreading your PR and marketing so thinly, I think it's really underestimated how much time, as anyone in PR and Marcom, how much time you need to spend online and researching, what's hot. I mean, you do need to know what's hot, what's not, who's hot, what's not, and it's moving so fast. And not just PR and Marcom, they already have their day-to-day responsibilities, as you know, dealing with guests, doing their reports, conferences and whatnot. And what about where does the dedication also go towards the in-house restaurants? And do these PR and marketing people, do they get time to spend outside networking? I mean, networking is also a huge part of it. Meeting, the media, bloggers, and so this is another.
But you're absolutely right, because I didn't
Yeah.
get to mention that we have many properties or restaurants and bars where we outsource this as well. So again, it's looking at, it's sort of a holistic approach. How big is the hotel? How many F&B outlets is it? Because in a small hotel with maybe one outlet, is it worth to hire a person full time to do that? No. So then you
Exactly.
outsource. So it's really an organic approach.
So wouldn't it be easier for hotels to just outsource the whole restaurant and let this become other people's problems? Kevin?
Yeah, well, I mean, what we used to do was we I guess we made it our problem, or we brought in people that would make it their problem, as you say, and all of it in the lifestyle segment anyway is very event and entertainment driven. Every hotel will have an events manager who actually scripts out what's going to happen in each outlet during the week, almost by the hour, on weekends by the minute, to drive that premium business in. We have people that go out in the community and actually dig up the business, bring it in, and they get paid for bringing the business in. That's how the lifestyle events-driven outlets are generally run. So, that's very important. We also depend heavily on social media, guests that come with big followers on Instagram, the Instagrammable moments. They're big drivers of business to the outlets in these places. So that's how it's done in the lifestyle segment.
I think also it's changing sort of the roles. we opened InterContinental in Singapore, Robertson Quay, and there in our Publico, in our outlet, which is a huge lifestyle outlet, so around 390 seats, with different experiential areas. And what we started with was a role that we call curator. It's a person that, the only thing that person does is curates experiences and does social media and also connects with brands that are on, on the same lifestyle as the restaurant brand. So this is a role that we are also working on moving forward to these high impact wow restaurants, like example Nikki Beach. It's somebody just curates all day, in
That's
and
a-
out experiences.
That's a progressive approach as to segment roles to, in order to fulfill this lack of time.
Micah, I actually have a question in terms of investment, since that's your specialties. How do the returns on investment in space compare between having your own and outsource?
Okay, I think to actually understand this better, a restaurant space is just part of a bigger hotel investment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one space. So I guess if you actually take a step back and you look at every time we invest in a hotel, whether it's an acquisition or a greenfield project, first thing we do is we build a financial feasibility model. We look at the IRR, we look at the payback, and if it meets our criteria, then we invest in it. But every time we do it, the key focus in the past is always room revenue. Because historically, room revenue is like 65, 70% of our total income. Then you have your F&B revenue, then you have spa revenue, then all your miscellaneous revenue. And on the room revenue side, we look at the room count, we look at the room types, we work with our revenue management department, we see what the comp sets, what the rates are, then later we kind of work off that. Then on the F&B side, maybe we might break it down by breakfast, lunch, dinner. We look at the covers, we look at average spend, and then later we come up with our feasibility model. But one thing we've noticed is that, at least at Minor, when I actually consolidate our P&L on the hotel side, there's two things I've seen recently. One is the gap between room revenue and F&B revenue is shrinking. So F&B revenue is growing, and our room revenue, because of supply, demand, or competition, we haven't been able to push our rate up as much. That's the first thing, so it's getting closer. The second is, every time when we do a budget, one thing I've noticed is whenever we miss our budget, mainly it's not because of the room revenue, it's mainly because of the F&B revenue. So with those two trends in mind, that's why, at least for us in Minor, we started to look at potentially outsourcing, trying to get an expert, to get a company or a team that's actually a restaurant operator to actually come in. So from an investment perspective, the returns would actually be much better than actually just operating it in-house. Yeah.
So everyone agree on outsourcing. This is not fun.
I think for us, it's a trend that we.
It's trending. Okay,
it's
so
a trend.
but don't you have concern on control over your branding though?
Yeah, I think we do, but I think for us, it's a mix. I mean, we definitely, like, for our all-day dining outlet or our breakfast outlet, we would actually keep that in-house. So we want to control the guest experience there. But then later, most hotels, we have like a specialty restaurant. So that's the area where we might actually outsource.
Because there's one hotel in Sukhumvit, they outsource everything, even breakfast, right, from third party. But then when you complain about breakfast, the GM, the hotel will be like, oh, but we outsource. But it's still in your hotel. How do you control that?
But I think it's a bit complicated because we own the Coffee Club brand. We have over 400.
Do you outsource yourself?
Yeah, we do. But I guess the point I'm going to make is that at some hotels, the developer would actually contact us, say, our building is small, we only have one outlet, can you operate for us? But the challenge we see is that we can operate, but it's hard to do like room service. I mean, there's some components where if you're not a pure hotel outlet, then it's a bit complicated.
Elena?
Well, I mean, I would say when you mentioned, Kevin, the Tao before, it's sort of, restaurants and bars can put glamour to the hotel brand, And I believe that restaurants and bars in the hotels, the idea is that you build it for the locals and the rest will come, okay? And you will find there are certain hotels, example, our Kimpton brand in New York, they will actually get guests booking the room just to be in a place and get reservations inside the hotel. And I'm sure you will see that a lot by having Tao, for example, or Nikki Beach, is that they're actually attracted to the food and beverage and entertainment experiences versus booking the hotel for the
You wouldn't get
solely
into
for
the
sleep.
club or other unless you were
Yeah,
staying there.
and then
Yeah.
so the idea, I think, and this is very much what I see happening with hotel brands is that, the tendency now is always to talk about outsourced, the freestanding, and the hotels, and I don't think it's like that anymore because we work a lot together in many areas. And as a hotelier and also been coming from freestanding, I think it's fantastic that we can tap into each other. And example, Soho Hospitality, Rohit, we work with a lot, and with Samantha. I mean, the coming together, there's so much more we can get out of it and bring so much better experiences.
That's very true. But it's also interesting in terms of if there's some crossover. I mean, how much are you contributing to promoting them? Whether it's to a budget or to like physically giving them visibility on your platforms. It's interesting to know is there the boundaries between an outsourced restaurant and really driving that restaurant, which isn't really giving you.
Well, I don't know
revenue.
what Karen will say, but for us, it depends on the property, how it's built. Because we would have example hotels, such as in Holiday Inn on Ceylon, that it has a whole, lower platform with lots of restaurants, and they can feel very disconnected to the hotel, but still part of the building. So not necessarily would we build a platform and promote those restaurants, but then you would have other restaurants, the example like Tao would probably, I assume, be a choice to give a high-profile wow to the hotel brand. So it depends on the approach.
Yeah.
It's not a one approach with leasing out. I'm sure maybe with Suma, it brings a glamour to the hotels, and it brings in the locals by having an international renowned quality brand.
So if we
partner.
all were going to outsource, which would be the best models for your hotel? Is it going to be a rent, total rent? Is it going to be a rep share, or is it GDP share, Kevin?
Well, we like to go. There are different models, and some of them are a minimum rental, and then a cut of the top
which
line.
would work
we
best for-
always go in the places I've worked. It's always been basically we'll get say 4 or 5% off the top for the brand licensing. If it was a Nikki Beach, it goes the other way. If it's Tao, they charge even higher than that. But generally, the bottom line is 50-50. There's a preferred distribution that goes to the brand, whether it would be Nikki or it would be Tao, until they get their pre-opening money back. It might be 70-30, and then it goes 50-50. There are different iterations of that, but basically that's how it works.
What about minor?
For us, because we own most of our hotels, most of our outlets, even if we outsource, will be on a joint venture basis. And the brand would get a royalty fee, we get rent-free fee, and then we split the profits.
And who invests in all the?
We both.
Okay. Elena?
Well, it was, sorry, again, mixed
Same.
bag.
Yeah.
Because also we're a management company, so it really is in relationship and also with the owner. We're working in partnership with the owner for that, what's best for the owners and the returns and the property. And also for the leaseholder.
Okay. So now we see a lot of challenges coming through social media and digital marketing. One thing that we always talk in every conference before was how hoteliers, we created OTAs, a monster in the room. But now it's already enter our F&B space. Things like Etigo, Rate, Table, Shop, or all these things. So the question is, do you see this as a challenge in operating your own restaurant? Sam?
I don't exactly understand that.
Like, okay, for example, OTAs. We don't sell room directly to, we can't sell through our channel. So we need OTAs like Booking.com and Agoda because the service is cheaper. But now things like Etigo, you can eat it for 50%. So why would I pay 5,000 baht at buffet at the hotel when I can pay 2,500? So why can't hotels do that themselves? Why hotel needs this kind of channels?
Well, maybe this is happening because, as I mentioned, that because there really is less focus, or maybe like the split focus between the PR and Marcom, the marketing that is invested in the restaurants, in the in-house restaurants. So I mean, like, as I mentioned before, either you I mean, in my opinion, you deal directly with you outsource an agency, someone who can come up with some campaigns and really pinpoint the selling point, and create really fantastic. It doesn't have to be a promotion, but it could be something that you're highlighting that no other restaurant chain has. And either that or investing or in a really dynamic, dedicated PR and Marcom to those restaurant outlets, someone that can do, you know, basically do the same. But this again comes down to budget and the time and whether that individual can be, can work.
So Kevin, do you
to
think
that
are they
capacity.
friend or foe for
Well,
us hoteliers?
I personally, I wouldn't do it. I think it kind of ruins your business and it doesn't create any loyalty. I mean, in the past, we've done F&B loyalty programs. You know, we had them at Centaur with, I think it was Promark up in KL, and then GHS Bernard Quick runs around the region putting these loyalty programs together. I think that's a far better alternative than discounting a one-off deal. You may never see that person again. I want him to have a card. I want him to feel he's getting points, so he's going to come back. That seems far more effective to me.
Elena?
Well, you know, friend or foe. I mean, if I could decide, you know, Idago and everything wouldn't exist, but they do, okay? And we're in that reality. So we look at it, or I look at it, you know, for my restaurants and bars. Example, Idago. There are certain people that goes to Idago, they want to go out. I believe the tendency is, as you see, the booking are mostly for buffet-run restaurants, and they want to find a deal. And if you're not on that app, and in buffet restaurant, tendency is after 8 o'clock or 9. It is, you know, you don't have all the seats taken. So you can yield. You can yield table. Because all in all, if you're not full at a certain hour, it is better to get 50% discount in than having an empty seat. Yeah. That's how we look at it. And therefore, you have to partner with them smartly. Example, Shop, I see in Thailand, and especially in Singapore, there are people who only book through booking apps like Shop. And they tend to say when they go out, they would choose restaurants that are on Shop. So therefore, you must be with the times and be somewhere, but you have to do it smartly. You have to yield.
Okay, Micah, what do you think?
I actually agree with both of you.
Yeah.
You can't have to pick.
We're so friendly.
Yeah, so I think like at this hotel we have the Essence program, which is our loyalty F&B program. So I think that's very important to create a base, your customer base. But at the same time, in the fast-moving world, I think we need to embrace technology. So whether it's like open tables or whatever the reservation systems are, or Edigo and so forth, that I think if you use them wisely, I think you can actually use it to our benefit.
Yeah. Okay. But we were also, I think, with Nick was talking over lunch, we had a conversation. So, you know, there are a lot of preferences. People want to book restaurants and bars through the messenger of Facebook. But then a lot happens. What example Shop can deliver, or Open Table, is that direct instant booking, and which also enables you to have the widgets on your website, on Facebook, because all in all, it's an instant world right now. I want to book my reservation, I want to get it directly. So therefore, we need to be on, you know, leverage to be on all the platforms that could be our loyal guest preference, is to have the visibility. and then to yield within in order not to lose.
So Kevin, since you're the only one who not going to use these apps, so how are we?
I'll use the app, but I won't discount.
Yeah, no, I know, me too.
Yeah.
We have the app.
But how are you going to actually attract people to come to the restaurant without these apps? Or are we going to like ended up, in the OTA situation if we don't do something or come up with something?
Oh, you can book the restaurant, or you can book the day beds or the opium beds around the pool online.
Yeah.
And you can, and you, if you book it online, you actually get it cheaper than if you showed up and tried to book a preferred seat in the beach club, for example. So there is that benefit, but
You can be on shop. You don't have to discount. You can still be on, and you pay a small fee just to get the booking if you get it directly from that channel. But if it comes in from your own widget, you don't.
But can
but
your
we're not
digital
using
market?
third party. We wouldn't
Yeah,
use third party.
Yeah.
That's what I really meant
yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
We do our own, and we'll do our own discounting direct, but we won't use a third
In
party.
general, can the PR digital marketing do that in hotels? Or do you need to use SAM?
Yes, absolutely, and Sam is very effective, powerful. I mean, look at the Bangkok foodies. I mean, absolutely, the reach is enormous. But it's a mixed approach. It's not
Yeah.
just one way is the highway, because it's about tapping in. There are people who only books from a certain channels. Do you want to tap into them or not? That's the question. We cannot tell people how they're going to book, because they're going to book there where they like it. And that's why it's same as the last session, digital, it's having that mixed approach
I
and
agree.
covering.
I definitely agree with that, making sure that you're covering all bases and with pretty much nothing to lose. Except one thing, do you find that maybe using an app like Eat2Go, I mean, from a consumer's perspective, it can almost cheapen the branding or the image a little bit. This
Yeah.
is the impression that I get from a
Yes.
lot of my readers, from my
Yeah.
members on Bangkok Foodies, is when they see something on Eat2Go, they often cringe. There's that sort of this
Yes.
factor. Yeah.
But
so how
that's
do you
why-
combat this? I mean, versus really investing in good PR and
Yeah.
marketing versus,
They rule the brand.
But that's why, example, maybe Eat2Go would not be the strategy or choice for a specialty experiential fine dining restaurant. You will see a certain type of restaurants. There is more of a volume-driven restaurants where they want to fill the fringe, the 5:30s times and 9 p.m. when they have a hard time driving in guests. You will find a lot of big volume buffet-driven restaurants. So in that way, and the clients are looking for that steal. And if you have a large volume buffet-driven restaurant, it will not cost you anything more having people coming in, 20 people at 9 o'clock. You will actually just tap in to increasing the bottom line.
so that makes sense because you're really accessing the network of the app, correct?
Yeah, you have to know
Even
that.
at the- Yeah.
And which outlet that you wouldn't outsource ever in your hotels?
Any no fine dining.
If you had a Michelin star restaurant, you probably would.
Kevin, like breakfast, I think people don't outsource breakfast, but some hotels do. Is that should you outsource breakfast or the dining?
At Dream, in all the New York hotels are 100% outsourced. Hollywood's 100%
Breakfast,
outsourced.
too.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. I mean, the new way you will find what we have a lot of restaurants. The new design, it's a specialty-driven. The all-day dining. Now, no, I don't believe many hotels designs all-day dinings anymore because all-day dinings are hard to sell for a la carte lunches and dinners. So therefore, what you design is a sort of market field specialty restaurant that happens to serve breakfast. And how we would deal with that example is that you would have a kitchen team just solely for the prep of breakfast, setting up, and then after it runs like a destination restaurant. Example in Robertson Quay in Publico, or Delicatessen or Deli is actually where they happen to have breakfast. But and also become very popular for locals for breakfast. And the main point is that we have a semi-buffet, and everything else comes out a la carte. So you probably will see more and more because real estate is getting more and more expensive.
Yeah, it's a good point. We killed, at Dream, we killed all-day dining. There's no all-day dining, which is probably one of the toughest
Yeah.
restaurants that any hotelier has to deal with. And I cringe whenever I see it today, but we would use a specialty restaurant. It would be Serena in Midtown Dream, and it would be the Tao for breakfast downtown, because that was cool, you know. And it worked very well. People love going in there for breakfast. Great way to start the day, you know. So.
Okay, should we take questions from the floor? Anybody wants to ask any panelists any question? Justin?
Anyone? Justin?
Anyone, Justin?
Anyone?
Let me start with the first one, where a lot of the outsourced partners you're working with are pretty premium names. And obviously, you're having to pay quite a bit for that, but it sounds like it's being pretty successful. What about those situations, though, in which smaller outlets are outsourced? Perhaps the bakery downstairs or the coffee shop downstairs. Aren't there a lot of owners or hungry F&B directors saying, hang on a second, why are we outsourcing this? We can do this. This is the bottom line. The bottom line's important. Let us take that back. Let us give that back to us. Are you seeing a lot of this?
Micah?
I think for us, not too much, because we only outsource our specialty or premium. I mean, if it's just mediocre, we still keep it in-house. So, I mean, from a hotel perspective, we don't. But what we do see is other owners. I mean, sometimes they come to us asking to use our brands. Or a coffee club is a good example, where, I mean, if you're a smaller hotel, they try to operate, or even hotels we manage. There's some small hotels we manage, and we try to run the F&B outlet for them. They only have one outlet. But then at the end of the day, most of the time, they end up saying, oh, can you put your coffee club there? So we don't have to deal with the headache, the staffing, and all that stuff.
And so in that situation, they're finding that the minimizing the number of headaches outweighs potential revenue that could be at that bottom line.
Yes. Because normally I mean, there's two things. One is sometimes they charge a percentage of sales, or sometimes just I mean, if an owner of a hotel doesn't want to deal with any headaches at all, then they just ask for a fixed rent.
Sure.
And then later that would offset any potential upside they might get.
Another question I've got, are we seeing any situations in which something is outsourced that later on you go, we shouldn't have outsourced that? You know, I sort of take a look in Singapore there at Marina Bay Sands, you've got Coup d'etat or C'est la Vie now at the very top. Now, when Coup d'etat came in, that was a pretty strong brand within Southeast Asia, but globally, not so much. I think we would all probably agree that just about anything could work up on that. You know, a hot dog on a stick would work out pretty well up there as well. Did they make a mistake in outsourcing that? Could Marina Bay Sands, I mean, they've got strong F&B people and brands. Did they make a mistake in not taking that themselves?
I think, I mean, a good example on your former questions about outsource. So we have Holiday Inn Express brand. Holiday Inn Express is the first tier, and then we don't have any restaurants and bars inside. So in Holiday Inn Express Clarke Quay in Singapore, that we have a huge lobby, and then we also have a concept, a great room where you eat breakfast and then you plug and work from it. And there we have the Australian baker chef Dean Brett Snyder, who opened Baker and Cook. So Baker and Cook will actually give this option of premium coffee, pastries, salads, takeaway, and it really actually helps that even people from the outside will come in. So it makes the great room, it makes it more alive. So this is a really good example that it doesn't need to be premium, it can be very casual, but it gives that premium coffee feel without us having to invest in people, and also having a brand from the go that people recognize, they trust, and go into. When it comes to your other question, sort of a Marina Bay Sands, the top space, when we have example, a luxury lifestyle big box hotel, if there is a rooftop bar, yes, the tendency first, we would look in the market research, because we will look at both ends. In the market research, could we do our own brand in there, or do we have a brand within IHG to put in? And the second option would be to calculate financial models, how much we get, and down to the bottom line of leasing out the space. Most of the times, we would run it ourselves, because it's the premium spot. It was what give the face to the hotel. But there could also be excellent branded partners that would actually give a glamour to the hotel and become the place to go in town. So again, it comes down to the market research, and also the bottom line for the owners.
Thank you, Justin. Anyone else? Let me see, who do I know here? Nick? Any questions? No? There's someone out here. Charles.
Can you answer his question?
What?
His second question.
The second, he used the coup d'etat or c'est la vie at the top, and my answer from here is that you don't know because you don't know what the economics are on the deal. That would be the response, but maybe someone has an insight. Certainly they're not paying a simple straight per square meter rent, but maybe they are. Wouldn't you suspect that it's a combination of revenue share, minimum? I'm sure it goes on for 3 or 4 pages, just the pricing mechanism. That's what would be interesting to hear you all talk about, and if you have some insight to the gentleman's question. Yeah.
Oh, well, I thought it was just an example, coup d'etat. Unfortunately, I don't know coup d'etat in Marina Bay Sands and the financial, the model. How we look at it is depending on what property in mind. And also, for lease out on a rooftop would mean that you would have to have some kind of entrance for all the deliveries, products to come up. Will the hotel, would it be feasible, possible physically to have a lease out that deep inside and high up? Most of the time you will see lease out being street front, so they can work individually. So it is not a straightforward question you can say yes or no. It really depends on market, property, and also the owners.
I guess for me, or at least for Minor, if we're pretty confident of a space or a hotel, we want an equity stake in it. So when we're looking, say on the hotel side, if we're looking to open in a hotel, if we're very confident in that city, we wouldn't just manage, we would actually own it. Because the income or the profit you get is much more than the fees you get. So for us, say doing a restaurant is the same concept. If we're confident in location, whether it's on the rooftop bar or wherever it is, even though we bring a brand name in, or a good example is Zuma. So we're confident in the brand, the location is good. So when we did the negotiation, we actually wanted a percentage. So we were willing to invest in the restaurant.
I think it really varies. I mean, we've been talking mainly high-end, upper upscale, and luxury. But I'll give you a good example that I went through in Colombo with Platano. We built the Z-Max there, 300 rooms behind the Dutch hospital. It's ground zero across from the Hilton, rooms as nice as the Hilton, $120 a night. The owner didn't want anything to do with F&B, but he had all the space. And he knew that he had to design it so that the locals, which would be the traffic walking around down there, wouldn't be afraid to go in there from doors external to the hotel, not through the lobby. Otherwise, the tendency is, geez, I don't want to go in the hotel, it's going to be expensive. But it was absolutely packed. They had street food out there on Friday nights. It was a huge success. He got it right.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so are we still on the same, are you guys still on the same answer as we beginning? No outsource? Or you changed your mind? Outsource? You're still outsourcing, right?
I think for us,
Outsourcing. So what's the real reason? Are we not making enough money when we operate in our own restaurants or all day dining?
I think basically what Elena said is in thinking of the bigger picture is the appeal of outsourcing for, it could be trendy or big brand or, this is...
We have some very successful all-day dining female
So it has
restaurants.
nothing to do with we're not making enough money to operate it ourselves.
The bottom line is that when you have restaurants, it's not enough for the hotel guests to eat inside. We have to be successful in the local market. So the locals are your bread and butter, and then And then if the locals come, the rest will come. So it needs to be looked from a bigger perspective, holistic perspective.
In terms of marketing as well, what Helena said, if the locals will come, everyone will come. You have to think about who's putting out the content on a regular basis. And, you know, when anyone is Google searching, they're going to look for bloggers or media that are locally based that are talking about that particular outlet. So absolutely you need to attract the locals, because I think this is something that, you know, people don't realize. It's the big picture. Yeah.
So if you are going...
It's
Sorry.
millennially driven, I think. We get back to this word again. And today people want to feel that they're seeing what's going on in the local community, what they want to mix with locals. What better way than to get them into your lobby, drinking coffee, into the restaurants? I mean, that's what it's really all about. But beyond that, let's go back to the financial side and return on investment, ROI, return per square meter, revenue per square meter. That's what everybody is after today. And if you do this outsourcing correctly, you will drive up, you'll get closer to that 50-50, 60-40 even in some lifestyle hotels. At Dream, we were doing 60% F&B revenue.
So if we are going to go outsourcing restaurants, should the F&B director be threatened by this? Will he actually eventually his job turn to be something else?
Well, that comes also up. I mean, depending, and if you have a hotel with one restaurant, is it really a F&B director, you know? It will be more of a restaurant, maybe GM restaurant and bar, you know? So, again, and also it's about putting a perfect setup for both the hotel F&B team to integrate or at least have partnership with the independent lease restaurants, creating good partnership, good neighbors. So it's different, all the situation. It's so hard to say that it's because all hotels now, and with so many different lifestyle brands, and also we have so many different brands, it's a different approach in F&B.
Okay, anything else you want to add before we close the panel? Sam?
Maybe just one question about in-house PR and Marcom for restaurants. I find one issue if it is a brand, I'm trying to pull its strings, Zuma, for example, which is a great concept. I find that that there is, how to say, there really is a process in terms of, let's say, as a media or as a blogger, to get information or to get approval on anything, there is a lot of control on the branding. Yeah. So sometimes when you're requesting something, it goes through a chain of command. Let's say approving a campaign. By the time it goes through this chain and it's approved, then maybe that's obsolete now. It's over. So I just wonder, how do you look at combating that when you are in control of a brand, and for things to move quickly? I mean, especially when you have standalone restaurants with their own PR and marketing, or working with agencies which are working very fast. So yeah, I'm interested to know, is this an issue, do you think, still, or how to combat that?
I think if it's for Zuma, or if we have a specialty restaurant where we actually partner up with, I think in terms of doing any PR and marketing campaigns, it's very fast, because it's just one outlet. But what we find a bit challenging is in say for this hotel, we have 4 different outlets. Which one do we promote this month? What do we do? I think that's a challenging part for our F&B director. But when you have just one outlet and that you're focusing on, then it's much easier.
Anyone else?
I think Rohit said very well in the former session. With the hotels, it's the Titanics. But where do we go to create this special and compete with freestanding?
Right.
It's think small,
How to
think
get the
individual,
shortcut.
because each restaurant is different and a different experience, and you market it differently, you run with it differently, and therefore the the generalized boxed approach will not work for hotels. We have to start thinking really individual per concept.
Okay, then. Nothing?
Okay.
Okay, so we are gonna outsource our restaurants and make it other people, make it other people problems. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.